And it's my pleasure to start things off with Lindsay Horvath, the mayor of West Hollywood.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor and pleasure to be with you and to serve our community as your mayor here in the city of West Hollywood. I want to thank our arts division for all of the work that they're doing to make this whole series possible and to make One City, One Pride an opportunity for us all to participate in Pride this season, now that we're gathering virtually and trying to stay connected while we're keeping physical distance, especially today, on the anniversary of what was one of the deadliest events in our American history, the Pulse shooting. It's more important than ever that we're together, that we know that we have each other and we can turn to each other in really difficult times, as well as celebrating our pride in times of strength. And at the City of West Hollywood, we are always standing here at your back and in support of all of the work that people are doing to fight for equal rights, to protect human rights, and to achieve full equality under the law for all people. And I want to thank everyone who participates tonight to make our city and our community a wonderful place to live, work, play, and grow. And especially in this time as we're thinking about what justice truly means, I thank you for the work that you do to ask the questions of yourself in your homes and in your own communities about what justice can and should truly look like in our world. So thank you for being together tonight, and happy Pride.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Can I ask you one question? What's your sash? You have sort of a
It's this strap on my purse, and it's from a French designer, and it says masculine and feminine in French on the strap. So
ah, well, there you go. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
That's my one God question.
you can ask anything.
Thank you so much. I'm honored that you're here with us tonight. I'd like to welcome everybody to our second grand experiment in queer Zoom open mic world. This is Pride Mike. We are a Pride Poets project with the support of One City, One Pride from the city of West Hollywood. My name is Brian Sonia-Wallace, which I forgot to say last time, and Jen so graciously reminded me that I should probably introduce myself. And I am hoping to feel a lot of things tonight and to hear a lot of news stories and to get to honor a lot of voices that are not always heard and that I have a lot of love for. Here's sort of how the show is going to go down. Anybody, if you are watching on the live stream, fantastic. You don't have to be in a Zoom room. You can totally do this while you're in the bathroom. If you want to be in the Zoom room, the links are right there. You're welcome to come on in at any point. So you're welcome to come in now. You're also welcome to come in at the end just to get a poem written for you. We have just a beautiful selection. I was going to call our poets a selection. I don't think it's a selection of poets. I don't think that's the right term. But we have some amazing Pride poets who are here writing for us tonight. We have, and Pride poets, feel free, if you pin the videos of these people as I say their names, y'all are co-hosts, so you're welcome to. Otherwise, the camera's just going to stay on me. But I want to introduce you all to start off with, and thank you. A preponderance of poets. I love it, Natalie. I want to thank you all for being part of this project and making this space happen. So tonight, writing for us, we have Natalie Nicole Dressel, Jen Chang, Reg Clarkina, Victor Yates, Brendan Alpener, and Michael Baroto. So thank you all so much for being here and for doing this weird thing where we meet people and write them poems, and that's ridiculous. And you're all ridiculous, and it's wonderful. To start off tonight, we're going to start with a short conversation. These next 2 weeks, we've got historians coming in. Next week on the 19th, we have Lillian Federman, who I blushed, told me that I had good questions for her. So take that, you know, prominent academics. But I'm so excited to have her with us. And then on the 26th, we have historian Marie Cartier. And these folks are going to be talking about queer histories. The theme of this One City, One Pride is off the record. So a part of our goal here tonight is to bring all of these stories from all of us that have been off the record to a certain point, and really think about the idea of what it means for a record to be created. What does it mean to document something? And what we do with poetry as Pride poets hopefully can be a small part of that. Whew. So that was the big introduction. Thank you. I'm so excited for our first speaker. Oh my goodness. And then I should say, so our first speaker is Michael Bell, who is a hospital chaplain, which many hats off. All the hats off to you, my friend. And I'm honored that you're here with us, and I'm excited to have you share your experience. And Pride poets are going to be writing a bit based on that story, and if they would like, based on any of the stories that are shared. And then we also have a featured speaker who I'm so excited to have with us. Fatima Shabazz is here. They're a speaker, they're a spoken word artist, a poet. She's just an incredible human who I've only met through seeing her videos on a streaming service. And now I am meeting her still through seeing a video of her on a streaming service. But she is really here. And I'm so excited to hear what you have to share, Fatima. But right now I'm going to go ahead and pin Michael Bell. And Michael, if you want to unmute yourself, I would love to just first of all see how things are at the hospital. You with your ID here and your collar. How are things going in your world?
Thanks, Brian. Before answering that directly, just to acknowledge I am still in uniform, so to speak. I'm an Episcopal priest in the Episcopal Diocese of Los Angeles, but serve as a chaplain in a hospital across the street from where I live, actually. So I just popped over here to make sure I was here on time for this, and may have to go back over there a little bit, we'll see. And hello to Jen. It was through Jen, kind of sort of, that I met Brian at a West Hollywood gathering, as a matter of fact. So thanks. And I would preface anything I say with, this is such an emotional time for all of us in so many ways, even more so, Brian, than when you first said, hey, would you be willing to do this? So much has happened even in the last couple of weeks. And I would also say that a word that comes to mind as I begin the conversation with you is recursive. Whether we're talking about 9/11 when I was in New York City, or a little experience at the Pulse nightclub site the week after the shooting, or COVID, or the social, righteous, prophetic protesting going on, or birthdays or anniversaries in general, there's something recursive right now. Happy pre-birthday to you, Brian. This also happens to be, I think your birthday is next week. This also happens to be the 10th anniversary today of my ordination to ministry. So there's a lot colliding. Your question, how's it going at the hospital? It's changed even since you invited me to do this. When you and I last talked, I was chaplain at one hospital across the street. And as of last week, I'm now in charge of spiritual care services at 3 hospitals in the Los Angeles area. So my perspective comes from all those hospitals. I would say 2 things. We are generally stabilized compared to where we were the last couple of months, but by no means stable, and anticipating waves, hopefully not surges and peaks, of more incoming COVID known COVID positive patients, as well as patients coming in other circumstances who are asymptomatic but turn out to be COVID positive as part of our protocol of testing. What I'm most feeling right now among colleagues, no matter what role they have in the hospital, is a catching up of deep, deep grief and what I would say is moral injury and distress. As the endorphin and adrenaline saturation of these last couple of weeks has started to wane a little bit, and people can take a little bit of a breath between their cases, whether we're talking about doctors, nurses, respiratory techs, environmental services, more and more of my conversations are with people who are emotionally very brittle and very raw. And so my attention has started to turn not just to the patients and families, but to how to do some, for lack of a better word, psychological first aid that we might typically do following an acute disaster, how to do that with each other in this ongoing wave of trauma that's repeating. And you add to that all the emotions and feelings that are drawn up for people in the last couple of weeks with the movements that we've seen wonderfully around the world, actually. All those emotions are just right there. It's a fertile time for a lot of amazing emotional work, but candidly, it's also absolutely exhausting. And I find myself more often than usual just right on the verge of weeping in tears myself. And I have to take a lot of timeouts during the day to get recentered enough so that I can be present with other people who are, like you all are doing for me right now, holding a space. I'm trying to hold a space for them, and Brian was gracious enough to say, we'll hold a space for you, so don't worry about it. We got you.
Oh, so many things that you said resonate. I think the idea of emotional work is one that I'm curious about, but the one I want to come back to right now is the idea of psychological first aid, because I think that's something that for the folks on this call, as writers, as poets, as artists, there's an interesting sense that I have of the ways that our work intersects, and I'm interested to hear any thoughts that you might have on what psychological first aid is needed and how artists can be of service in that work.
Sure. And everyone on here is probably very obviously proficient in Googling and researching things, so you can look up the term. It comes out of, I'm kind of a visual, and I'm sorry I don't have a way of doing visuals easily at the moment, but I want to distinguish some things that are overlapping, like Venn diagrams, and then focus in on that term and how it may be very helpful and relevant to each of us. We know about traumatic stress, and some people still call it post-traumatic stress injury or disorder. More and more research and learning has been done about that, particularly out of the military, but more and more through all these issues in life where we experience series of micro traumas or major traumas. There's something called moral injury or distress that is an ongoing issue, not necessarily directly trauma response, but when you're experiencing a great distance between what you know and feel deeply is right, and you're not able to do that thing, or you're witnessing things that go so against your moral compass, and you have to deal with it, that creates this distress and eventually injury in you, depending on how severe that is. And then there's the grief work, which we know is no longer just in 5 stages. That was a nice framework, but modern, more contemporary psychology would acknowledge that's neither linear nor sequential, and making new meaning in the wake of something that has ripped you apart is kind of the 6th stage of grief. And when you think about post-traumatic stress, moral distress or injury, and grief, something that happens to us is all of us exist within a bandwidth of what I would call your normal response range, highs and lows, how you deal with stress, how you deal with something that triggers you, something you've seen, maybe seeing me in a collar, whatever it is that triggers you, we deal within that range. But when something happens traumatic that pushes us above or below our normal resiliency range, hypo or hyper responses set in. And we can get arrested in those areas sometimes where when you're in the hypo response, you kind of check out. You're numb, you're paralyzed, you're de-skilled, you're depressed, you're sleepy. You just have a hard time focusing and you're shutting down. When you're hyper, you become agitated, angry, very emotional, manic in a way. And if you're talking to a mental health response team, I just had the LA County mental health people come in and do an in-service for some of our chaplains. When they're triaging, that's another way to call it, emotional triaging, someone in a moment, they're trying to figure out where are they in that range and help get them back into their, whatever their baseline resilient zone is, just in that moment. So for instance, in the hospital setting, when I'm walking around and I see a doctor who I know their normal range of things, that I notice that she, he, or they is standing in front of a computer just staring at it, that's an opportunity, an invitation for me to check in what's going on. Or I notice they have 5 cans of Monster drink that they're carrying to their office, when normally they might just have a cup of coffee or something. Or I see an altercation in the hallway between colleagues that don't normally act out in those ways. That invites me into that space to say, where are they in that? And can we, and more acutely, if someone's just sobbing and unable to focus on their work, how do we triage that with psychological first aid to help someone get back into their zone? This came out of disaster response. Another term you might think of is the second wave of mental health concerns that we're all going to see around us coming. It's already evident, but we'll see it more. In the wake of a acute specific disaster, earthquake, major fire, etc., typically the mental health needs of everyone impacted by that outstrips or spikes above the available mental health capacity to respond, the number of therapists, counselors, etc. So psychological first aid was developed to try to help civilians like all of us help each other through that just enough. Last thing I would say is another image, metaphor maybe, that I've heard that I like, that we're all going through the same storm, though we may have different language for it, descriptions of the same storm of stuff, but we're in different boats. And depending on the sturdiness of our craft and what it's been through in the past, we may or may not be as able to handle the bow waves and the water and things. So looking out for each other in these different boats, how do we help plug just enough of the holes for now to keep someone afloat in this moment until they regain that ability to tread or paddle or what have you? That's another way of speaking of it.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for that metaphor at the end. I was getting in an academic mind space, and it helped bring me back to a more embodied place, which I feel like is important. As a reminder to everyone, our Pride poets are writing right now, and so some of this may pop up in the poems that they're creating. Michael, I wanna talk a little bit about Pulse, but I think first I'm interested in the wake of all of the stuff that you've told us, which sounds very heavy, especially so now, but kind of always as well. And I'm curious if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit of your personal story as a uh-oh, and then I think I froze. I'm back. As a chaplain, as a queer person, kind of how did you come to this place where you're thinking about these things and working on these things?
So many threads. As a child and adolescent going off to college, I was very in touch with metaphysics, with paranormal, intuition, part of a metaphysical society. I had this early sense that there was more going on than what we rationally saw or talked about. I didn't feel I had a welcome space within traditional religious structures to talk about that or explore that. And when I did, I was kind of shut down. So that was there. There was an interest early in my life in death and dying, and I thought about being a funeral director. Thought about being an educator around death and dying, being a death doula. I got involved in hospice work and on the board of a hospice and such. Meanwhile, I was doing work in the business world, management consulting and such. Eventually found myself in a healthcare setting doing that kind of work in New York City right before 9/11, and started dating a Jewish guy who observed kosher kitchen, and I was the Shabbos goyim on Fridays when we would gather with all the queer Jews who didn't feel a place at home anymore, but they wanted to hold on to this part of their orthodoxy. And all these things started to churn in me, and I started searching for my own sense of religious identity, if I could have one, because I had been to graduate school and my degrees was in theological studies, and I was very good at deconstructing and challenging all the things about institutional and organized religion. So I had to bring those things together, and over time found space in the Episcopal Church for all of who I was. And that began this journey. And I more and more found that in my workplaces, my quote unquote full-time wage earning workplaces, I can use the language functioning more and more as a chaplain or a pastor. And finally, the tipping point came when I really needed to make a choice. Do I stay in that way of life and do this kind of on the side? Or do I go whole heart the other direction and be the chaplain or minister or pastor who has a business mind? And the image that I would use, back to using images, is on one side, I was incentivized in the for-profit corporate world to diminish and silence all of who people were and their personal stuff and all the things they brought to the office in service of an agenda of a certain profit and efficiency. And I kept wanting to go the other direction. And I find as a chaplain, I'm doing just the opposite. All the time, money, protocols, all these things have to go in the background while I try to work with that person where they are, who they are, all of who they are in that moment, and prioritize their humanity and their dignity at the expense of all these other things that are competing for time and attention. And at some point in my journey, that needle just went from almost 180 degrees. I was like, I can't be in this environment anymore. I have to function this way. The irony is, back to recursive stuff, as of last week, now I'm a director, administrator across 3 hospital departments. So I have to maintain that chaplaincy, but I'm very much part of the system in terms of the healthcare system and the budgets and
paperwork.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm curious, and we just have a couple more minutes in this conversation. Thank you for bringing so much of this language. I mean, I think it's something that as poets and as writers, I'm constantly on the hunt for new language, and I feel like you've given us so much tonight. I would love to touch on, and it's ironic in some ways, because this was the reason that I was like, oh my goodness, can we have this conversation publicly, is because I wanted to hear about your experience in Orlando after Pulse. And I know that we've gone much of this time really thinking about what's happening in this moment, but acknowledging the day that we're doing this, I would love to just give you the space to say whatever you'd like to about that.
Thanks. Yeah, back to recursive, it's all related, right? In some other sense of time that's not chronological, it's all the same shit. The violence, the targeted violence, not only against queer people, but predominantly people of color in that particular context, the calculated, premeditated nature of it, and the response in the afterwards from the community. And that's kind of what I would speak to. When I was already slated to be at a conference of chaplains in Orlando. That was that following week. And when we arrived, it was announced purposely, the conference, are not going to do much right now to look at what happened just down the street from us at the Pulse nightclub, which for the queer community within that conference, we were like, wait, what are we doing if we're not addressing this trauma that's just occurred? And the comment was, our local chaplains here in Orlando are dealing with a lot of that, and we don't want to get in their way. We need to focus on keeping the conference going. And back to these competing agendas. And a number of us just weren't satisfied, so we self-organized and went through the experiences of trying to find a bus that would take us down there en masse while trying not to appear that we were tragedy tourists. We had this heart to go see what was happening at the site and how we could be of assistance for an afternoon that we had free. And we did. And on the bus ride over, people donated as they got in the bus whatever they could toward the cost of that. The proceeds later that we had left over were donated to some of the relief efforts. And when we arrived at the site, we purposely fanned out and kind of did a community assessment. Some of us stayed right at the site with people that were still weeping and coming and putting flowers. Some of us went and talked to law enforcement that was guarding the perimeter of the site against people who would want to get in and take pictures and stuff. And we went to area businesses to talk to them and the community members, because it's the Pulse nightclub's an interesting kind of residential business zone. It's just so average, you know, the setting, and from so many vectors, people were impacted. While we were there, like hundreds of bicyclists came that were on some kind of bicycle tour, and they just stopped and had a moment of silence in front of it. The range of conversations as chaplains that we had with all these people, we then kind of debriefed a little bit with each other when we got back on the bus, and we had to kind of support each other because different members of our team had different reactions to what we had just experienced. And then reintegrating into the conference with other chaplains from around the country to try to metabolize what we had just bared witness to there. It was a lesson in community organizing, spontaneous community organizing, a lesson in how even within a group that ought to quote unquote know better, sometimes voices just have to step in and organize. And certainly a lot of work in self-reflection and supporting as we all figured out what are we going to do now in response to this after this conference? How can we work on this? And I think of the West Hollywood parade and the decision, should it go on, and all of these things that came, you know, and how unsafe I personally felt. Still sometimes going to bars and looking around and wondering. I remember last year I was at the Eagle and I got triggered by something and I looked around, where's the exit? What if something went down? How would we get out of here? That's part of that ongoing distress and moral injury that I'm talking about that we all live with, whether we were present for Pulse or exposed to it. It becomes part of our psyche and needs to be tended to over time.
Thank you for that, Michael. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope that I've hopefully we've completely scared away any potential viewership by starting an event that advertises itself as a queer event with a priest. So hopefully that's a mission accomplished there. Pride Poets, if any of you have a poem that is ready to go right now, based on what Michael said, I would love to invite you to share it. Go ahead, Natalie, and then we'll just hear one of these right now and start our open mic. Well, no, let's as many as are finished. Let's hear the responses now. Then we'll start the open session. Sticking to my plan. I'm working on this. And then make sure that you stick around for our feature, Fatima Shabazz. Natalie, go ahead.
Feeling it all, but feeling nothing at all. Emotionally coarse and fragile like grandma's peanut brittle. How do you get through when your job is to get us through? Is it God, Mr. Chaplain? Is your God the same as theirs? Is the God helping you deal with being a psychological EMT, the one in whose name the violence was being done in the first place? In our deep grief, who do we serve? A God that wants what's right? A God that makes us feel that we're never wrong? Or instead, do we serve each other, use the long spoon to feed one another, and find the God that's been in the feeling in between us all along?
Use the long spoon. I just have to shout that out. Thank you, Natalie. Oh man. Um, welcome any of the other Pride poets. You have a poem at the ready, or Michael, if you'd like to respond. Otherwise, we will move on to our mic. Give me a wave or a ping or a shout or a hallelujah. And Natalie, thank you so much for raising those questions and those provocations.
My pleasure.
Jen, is that you're ready to read? Cool. Well, turn your camera on, my friend. I can't very well pin you unless you turn your camera on. All right. Jen Chang, another one of our Pride poets. And just to be clear, I realize I didn't do the biggest introduction before Natalie read, but I just want to acknowledge the feat that these poets are doing of listening to a conversation and writing a piece of poetry in response to it in real time. And this is something at the end for the last half hour of tonight. They will be in breakout rooms to write poems for you based on whatever you tell them or based on the pieces that you share. So now I'm going to welcome Jen to share.
Thank you, Michael, for all your imagery and all you said. It's very touching. Here we go. For some, every day is a storm. There is more going on, more than what could be informed. The feeling of unsteadiness, surviving different kinds of mess. So much pressure to perform. Sometimes we gotta break down, gotta weep, gotta let out steam to evolve for more. Grief is not linear nor sequential. Time is not chronological. It's all the same shit. Violence and trauma damages all ships. Distress and moral injury lingers in our psyche. Resilience is remembering there is a clearing after the storm, that there is a light, a North Star, to get us out of the shitstorm, even if it feels far.
Thank you, Jen. Getting us out of the shitstorm. I very much appreciate that. All right. If it's all the same with everybody, Pride Poets, last call on your response poems, and then we are gonna start off our readings with someone who I'm so excited to be able to see again after a few years of him moving to the East Coast. We have Victor Vasquez joining us, who's doing some really incredible work, particularly here. There he is. There's that guy. I'm gonna pin your video. You just watch me. Victor's doing some incredible work in the American theater in demanding diversity, equity, inclusion, and is just this amazing writer who just graduated. I'm just gonna sing your praises, Victor. I'm so sorry. Just graduated with was it an MFA or a master's?
Master's.
With a master's from some like little podunk university that no one's ever heard of, like somewhere in England. It might start with an O, it might end with a Oxford. Victor, it's good to see you. I'm so happy to have you with us, and the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. My name is Victor Vasquez. Pronouns he, him. Hi. I just want to say quickly that there is deep felt gratitude on my end for spending a moment with community today. I have to say that every time June 12th comes around, I wake up with a deep sense of tragedy and a remembrance of what happened 4 years ago. And I want to start off by acknowledging the altar that I decided to build myself for the 49 individuals who were taken at Pulse nightclub. And 4 years ago on the Day of the Dead, which is November, 1st of November, the 2nd November, I got this stick and poke tattoo on my wrist that I just want to show you. And it's 49 dots or 49 constellations. And so 4 years ago, I've had it now for 4 years, and every time I touch it, I just remember, and it helps me ground me in the present moment, and knowing that what I can achieve today is a blessing enough. I wanted to also just acknowledge the first stanza of Wild Geese by Mary Oliver, because that is also on my wrist. And I just want to read that first stanza before I read a poem of mine. This is the first stanza of Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And to close up, I know it's brief, but I thank you. I will read another poem of mine that I wrote a while back, and I can't escape it. I think it is actually a broken dream. And perhaps it is because I long to discover what fatherhood might look like on my end. And so I wrote a poem titled Men. If you and I love, let us live. Let us yell round sounds from our bedroom mouths, savage, rude, spits of spirit, bulbous things. And in a million years, we may learn to impregnate one another using only our voices, touching our ears, skin, and hair. We can simply and finally say, we want to have a baby, and one will appear. Thank you, everyone. And Bryn, I see you. You said that you have a wild geese tattoo too. And I just wanted to honor that and appreciate it. Thanks, Bryn. Thanks, everyone.
Bryn, we're pinning your wild geese tattoo. Show us. Oh, they're so wild. Look at them go.
Okay, look, there we go. So now that I'm like off of mute, I have my geese and the mountains and some happy little trees.
I love it. See, you find community everywhere you go. It's always there you go.
Thank you so much, Victor. It's good to see your face. We miss you anyway. Up next, I am excited to invite a reader who I met just last week at Pride Mike, and has a series that she's working on that I hope we get to hear more from tonight, because it's absurd in the best way.
I'm picking another series tonight, so we're gonna change it up a little.
New series, all right. The floor is yours, Spike. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much. Hi, I'm Spike, gender nonconforming, so call me whatever the fuck you want. I have a series that was that every time I go on the road and whatever I see when I'm driving, it tends to spark more poetry. So this is from the series called On the Way to Monterey. Twilight tatters of cirrus intent, rusted roots of daydreams dissipated in atmospheric anomalies of your esoteric agenda. Condensation tendrils wrap around my naivete. Smoke from the twisted manzanita skeletons standing sentinel in foxtail fields, while ass black mule deer twisted spook and pack freneticism. This is spring, the season of my rebirth, yet I lay curled in quivers, desperate to return to the safety of the warm room, a malicious memory that never existed, cut from whole cloth, newly sewn into N95 masks to ward off evil intentions. Blown about on the hot breath of desert desire, I tremble before your temerity, a ragamuffin bitten and torn, ripped by big dogs in full feathered braggadocio. Raggedy Andy's got nothing on me.
Thank you, Spike. Raggedy.
I got one.
Go ahead.
It's okay. I've got one more. Okay, if from that series, if it's okay.
Go for it. Go for it. What's the series? What's the through line?
The through line is basically whatever inspires me. I drove up to my sister's in Monterey for I have to get out of LA for a minute COVID craziness, and I just, there was so much going on that drive that it was there. So I have the fruit series that I'm actively working on, and then every time I travel, I'm gonna try and set up a series based on that. But these, other than that, they don't really have a name, so I haven't titled them yet. Early morning dawn mist drapes these hills, gray satin sheets covering undulations of curvaceous women in repose. I resurrect giants from the earth, golems of golden sunlight and straw, an army at the ready. I name them all. Dream lovers of mud and weed and cold cloud, hungry for a kiss, the warm breath of life. I open my heart, bare my soul and part my lips, laying naked among their brambles and bushes, a sacrificial lamb to nourish parched colluvium. Each earthen goddess strains to brand me as her own, my body smeared with mud and cum and chaff, marked boundaries in blood and barbed wire, scratches and bruises, proud medals of my devotion, bestowed by thorn and switch and stone, rending deep furrows, emotional lacerations. Lost among leviathans, I lay stranded and exposed, feeling roots that bind me to this loom and sand, becoming another curve in this gentle landscape of lovers.
Thank you for that gentle landscape. What a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much, Spike. Oh my goodness, I have not seen this human in too long. Their work is brilliant. They are brilliant. I'm so excited for you all to know them. This is Darian Battle. Welcome. Thank you for sharing tonight.
Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay?
We got you.
Great. And thank you so much, Brian, for inviting me to do this. Yeah, everything has been so fun so far tonight. I'm going to add a little bit to this just to preface and prepare you. I'm a storyteller, not a poet necessarily, even though some of my language sometimes gets poetic. So I just want to acknowledge that to the people who love the form and pay attention to things like meter and that. But the piece that I have right now is called Sweet Alabama. And I'll just start. It was common for Black boys and girls of a certain age to spend the summers at their grandparents' house. We lived in Minnesota, but my mama was from Alabama and my daddy was from Mississippi. So summers were not spent around the Great Lakes of the North, but in the heart of Dixie. I was not a fan of that arrangement. We always had to drive, long drives, boring drives through the American heartland, which, by the way, all look like the same plot of grass while you're speeding by. The good side to the long drive was that we got to listen to my dad's cassettes. Billboard top 10 hits from 1952, 1957, 1963 to 68. I fell in love with Speedo. I saw the party lights. I learned you can't hurry love, and once you get it, the love you save may be your own. And then there was the entire greatest hits of Sam Cooke. But once the music stopped and I had to peel my face from off the vinyl seating of my dad's back seat, I would find myself in either Natchez, Mississippi or Hurlsboro, Alabama. They both have their different tenors to them, but from what I remember and recall, Natchez was where my nice grandma lived. Grandpa was there, but in a meaner, minor role. And Alabama, where my mean grandma lived. Alabama, I'm sure, as a state, has its charms. The child in me today still struggles to see what some of them were. Depending on how many relatives were visiting the house, I would usually have to sleep in the other bed in my grandma's room. Old people smell. I mean, we all do, but old has a smell, and it usually is not enticing to the young. On top of that, my grandma wore wigs and stored them in her closet, on her floor, and near her bed using these white, faceless head busts that seemed to glow in the dark. So that every time I would wake in the middle of the night, I would see an army of horrific heads surrounding me.
Oh, wow.
Me and grandma also put me to work. Most kids envision a summer relaxing, watching TV, playing video games, and lounging around the house. None of that when living with me and grandma. Up with the sun, brush teeth, make bed, sweep the carpet, pick eggs from the coop, eat food, slop for dog, wash dishes, wash the clothes, sweep the kitchen, miss the spot, grab my switch, put on the pants, hit, cry. Resweep the kitchen, better, now mop, vacuum the floor, wipe down the furniture, miss the spot, grab my switch, pull down pants, hit, cry. Now go on outside. The Alabama days were brutal. And I was an inside kid, not an outside kid. Every other small child would revel in the freedom of grass fields and blue skies. Not me. I don't like being here, I remember saying probably more than once. The response of my playmates from around the way were generally scrunched noses and, why you talk so proper? You sweet? I would hunch my shoulders, too young to know what had been asked of me. Sweet like the ice cream treats we would buy when the penny man would drive through the area selling treats and eats like he was a one-man grocery store. Sweet like the smell of the morning air when we breathed it in for the first time. Sweet like the juice that used to run down my lips after I ate a stolen peach from my grandma's tree. Sweet. I would have to hang with the kids my age all day, miserable, staring at the sun, mad, wanting it to speed its travel across the sky. The boys would run through the fields chasing rabbit and frog, wrestling when they felt like showing their power and dominance. The girls would sit by the road, play with dirt or mud or pluck flowers. I hung with the girls, hating the sweat and hotness that came from running behind animals in the Alabama sun. Why are you hanging with the girls? A boy would yell. You sweet. And finally, when the night came, I would make my way back to my grandma's house, stumbling through the dark with no streetlights to guide me, just making it to the door using the familiar shape of objects whose form would only become apparent as soon as I got close enough to see them. Mean grandma would fry me small circles of bologna in her cast iron skillet, slitting the bubble that rose in the middle with her knife. She would grab the white bread and Miracle Whip, spread it, make me a sandwich. She kept a calendar near the stove. It was only June. 2 more months before my parents would travel back via car to pick me up. 2 more months before I could go back to the place where I just sounded like me. And no one asked me if I was a taste. After my sandwich, mean grandma would cut me a piece of pound cake, soft, fluffy, sweet. We'd sit and watch wrestling on her TV until my eyes fell asleep. She'd wake me up, tell me to get ready for bed, and the day would end just to start again. That's it. Thank you all.
Darian, what you have to look at the chat. It's so full of people just shouting out lines. You and your claim that you're not a poet beforehand, for shame. For shame.
Well, thank you all. I will read them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you. Um, it's so good to see everybody. This next poet to the virtual stage. How long have we known each other now, Gina? It's been some years now, right? Um, they do so much incredible work um, in the Inland Empire, in poetry and with youth and with all manner of things. And is Gina pinned for everyone right now? Is that good? I know I messed things up the last
Yep,
time. I'm
here
so
I am.
sorry. Hooray!
I'm just pinned.
Um,
I see myself.
welcome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been 5 years, I think. Yeah. Can you hear me?
We got you loud and clear.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's been like 5 years, I think, since I've known you. And that's actually as long as I've been working on these poems, this series of poems that I'm going to be reading for you right now. The first one, and it's from the series is called And So the Wind Was Born. Fire and wind. Fire is a common occurrence. Fire is a common occurrence in California, and the power of the Santa Ana winds decimate, evaporate, dissipate the green through a straw like a greedy child with sticky hands. Fire is a common occurrence. Fire is a common occurrence amongst the brittle, drought-ridden weeds, where field mice and gophers scurry, play, frolic in the kumquat trees, and birds flutter quick as dogs run free down empty roads like almond, cypress, banana, and harupa, where a long stretch of gravel began to roll with the hills. As a pitta girl called to the wind while falling to her knees, begging Jesus in the cleft of the southeast corner of her hot pink carpet room. In the silence, the wind emptied from her lungs, raging the sizzles and chews of flames in the silence. In the silence, a puff of dirt alerts when visitors pass. In the silence, the wind cries between the window pane, tapping Christmas lights against the frame. Under the tinsel tree is a stretched blue knitted sweater, newly worn and thrown across the living room floor of a swollen-lipped and purple-faced girl. In the silence, God is not questioned, and Dad's heavy, calloused hands build bridges and skyscrapers to futures where high winds are God, and blue-collar Catholics sends 7 a.m. Sundays giving gratitude for Cushion Falls. But in the silence, fire devours everything as a young girl screams, but no one does a thing. In the silence, the fire is seen, but no one does a thing. And then my second poem for you is Remnants of Me. I lie in my bed with the sticky webs of memories spun round me like golden sap, which clings and oozes from a maple tree. I think back to when I held your hand and you kissed me on the busy street. Cars fluttered the chiffon of your skirt. They rushed by as the leaves began to scatter and plop like brisk January raindrops. We were marching with millions of women around the world, drinking up love from water bottles and traversing the tarred streets while breaking in new hiking boots. You said that the love was good energy for my travels, and I held your hand as we created a chain of connection through the crowd. We came upon a meditation spot, but our friends were in a rush, so I took a picture of our people sitting in the light before the storm. The train couldn't move fast enough to tomorrow, when the plops and drips of rain on asphalt made a melody to the beat of your heart speaking to mine through the cage that keeps my voice contained like a whisper that only your lips heard. But I saw you in the sunlight on a warm summer's day when you peeked through the crevices of my hands and kissed me again. I will never know a softer touch than yours. When you helped spin the silk around my body, I shed the pieces of my parents, which they willed. I felt safe at last. I want to forget your whispers that shushed the speeding cars, that spilled out onto the tile floor with my heart beating next to yours. Don't hold it against me. I realize now you were speaking from fear. I have turned to liquid flowing through the cool cracks of the tile floor next to the shattered fragments of my heart covered in red earth. All the pieces belong to you now. The light is so blinding, it is dark inside. But I will emerge soon. I feel change with the breeze kissing my lips like a lover fluttering across my body. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gina. Let me see.
Unpin me.
Unpin. We got this. We got this going on. And Natalie is gonna help me out. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Darian. Thank you, Spike. Thank you, Victor. Oh yeah, so many words. We still have more words. We have infinite words. Um, this person who's reading next is super special to me. Marcus, I'm sorry I didn't give you a heads up. I've been giving heads up in the chat, but I didn't. This is your heads up. We do a lot of work together through a nonprofit called Get Lit Words Ignite, working with youth poets, and Marcus is currently in the midst of a million things with Youth Speaks. So if you want to know things about like the youth poetry world and scene, he's a great resource, and all of y'all are great resources for each other if you're doing stuff in the Inland Empire. Gina's right there. Darian's teaching at UCLA. Victor's out in New York. If you are inclined to leave your Instagrams in the chat or direct message each other or whatever you do, get in touch. This is what this space is for. And I'm going to shut up and say thank you so much for joining us, Marcus.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so as Brian said, we normally work with young folks. And so today's a little bit different, mostly because anytime I do a reading, I'm like, cool, what can I talk about to a group of 15-year-olds that's not too wild? And so it's kind of nice to be like, okay, I'm in a room of other adults now. So that's really, really cool, even though I know I have a little bit of a baby face. So my name is Marcus, as we've said. I am a transgender bisexual man, and I feel it's important to say that because I literally never met a transgender bisexual man until I was about 2021, and it was like a really big deal to me because I was like, that doesn't happen. What? But we're out there. So speaking of that, yeah, snaps for visibility. But speaking of that, so I have a poem called A List of the Men, and essentially the only background I'll give is Grindr is a real thing. Grindr as an app is a real thing. So this is called A List of the Men. The one with a Chicago accent but an Indiana high school football ring. The one with the truck, duffel bag in the back seat full of McDonald's Filet-O fish boxes. The one who called me girl boy. The one who invited me over for Thanksgiving dinner. The one who laughed so loud the sky opened with rain. The one who asked me when my birthday is. The almost one on my birthday. The one who liked me better before the surgery. Traced my scars like an unhappy cartographer, forced them into a cave where I was 15 again, before the hormones. He begged my body to be the before again. The ones in Santa Barbara, the condom, the removal, the one who said he likes them bigger, that I do look better than my photos. The one who builds small metallic trees in his parents' shed, says the shed is small, but the tools are his. I too am proud of all the small victories I can hold between my palms. The one in the suit, the $10 Ubers and $3 tips, the removal, the bruising,
the leftovers, the liar, and all of his fathers. Every single father. Thanks, y'all.
What? Get out, Marcus. Just stop. Stop being so talented. How dare you? Um, Thank you. Oh man, every time I hear you read, it's so funny, y'all. Like emailing with someone about logistics and then hearing their poetry. Um, like there's nothing quite like that. Um, all right, we're gonna move right along. I figured it out. I was pinning videos. I needed to spotlight videos. This is Charlie C.E. Oldham. Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I'm going to read two short poems. The first one is very, very short and it does not have a title, but it goes like this. I find a journal entry from 2015, a grocery style list of people to stay alive for. But there are names I don't remember. There are people I wish I could forget. And none of my names were ever written. So there's the first poem. And the second poem, when I was looking at what I wanted to read today, I was thinking about how important it is as a young queer person to have older queer people in your life as role models and as mentors. And when I was thinking about that, I immediately thought about my aunt. And so this is also untitled, but it has something that my aunt wrote for me at the very beginning. And she wrote this to me on my whiteboard, and it said, "We love you beyond the binary, beyond this life." Aunt Dieter says, "Let's move to Santa Fe, grow our hair long." Says, "We will live in a trailer and get another dog." Aunt Dieter pours Bailey's in her coffee, drinks it with breakfast and after dinner Hershey's bars. Aunt Dieter says, "Fuck money, let's go camping." Aunt Dieter says, "Let's make a movie. Let's remake the shower scene from Psycho, shot for shot." Aunt Dieter drinks white wine from water glasses. Says she will accidentally let the cat out and not be able to run after it. Aunt Dieter has a bad knee, wears a brace and thick leather boots. Aunt Dieter knows she looks good in tucked in flannel and knows no apology. Says everyone knew she was gay. Kisses her wife in public. Calls my future never boyfriend but partner. Aunt Dieter's laugh sounds just like her cry. She's always making that wailing sonic tone. Aunt Dieter is good at cards but rarely wins. Aunt Dieter loves stories, talks about Dom bomb parties. She is both apocalypse and Americana. Aunt Dieter says that I could save the world over a game of rummy. I replied that I could save the world but never this table. She says I have a mind like hers. We laugh until it sounds like crying. Reshuffle, reshuffle, reshuffle. Thank you.
Thank you, Aunt Dieter. Aw, want that human. Um, Thank you, Charlie. Charlie and I also work together with Get Lit, and I'm so excited I get to do a summer camp with them this summer with a bunch of baby, mostly queers. And I'm just thrilled about that. Hooray! Let's take things to the frozen north now, and my good friend Erica, who I met in LA many lifetimes ago. So excited that you're able to be here with us virtually, coming from Minneapolis in the heart of the storm. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me. So tonight I'm going to share some pieces from a show. I'm in a theater company of all queer transgender performers called Open Flame Theater here in Minneapolis. And this week we were supposed to premiere this show that we have been working on, building from scratch, writing, rehearsing for 3 years now. And so we postponed it for a year, and thank God we have, with everything that's going on in the world. But because we were supposed to premiere it this week, it was on my mind a lot while trying to think of what to read for tonight. So I've taken a bunch of the text that I've written through different sections and kind of made a 3-movement piece called The Garden, which is also the name of the show. The idea of the show is that it takes place in hell. We're using the garden as imagery for hell, as the meticulous nature of a garden formulates what could be considered a very oppressive system, particularly for trans folks. So that's like just a little backdrop for these words as you're hearing it, and why maybe I've chosen the words I have. I will just have a little content warning in this first section. There's a little bit of violent words, so just I want that to be out there, that this first chunk of it will contain a little bit of that, and then the rest of it does not. So, The Garden. 1. Corpse Dance. I've been scared most of my life. Fear is a lover. She seduces me into her arms. She keeps me in bed in an embrace when I need to leave for work in the morning. She knows how to whisper so sweetly in my ear it's impossible to tune her out. In this place, I've experienced the unimaginable. I keep persisting. There is power in what we can sustain. The pain suffered, I do not flinch, I do not whisper, I do not whimper. People mistake me for weak, but they underestimate my ability to endure. So do what you want to this body. Pluck my eyes out from my skull, rip my tongue out from between my lips, scratch every inch of flesh from my body. I will always endure. I will always sustain. I will beg you for more. 2. Home. 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 Home is an envelope filled with love, waiting for you the moment you walk through the door. Home is 4 walls and a roof that keeps the light in and the darkness out. Home is a field of sunflowers and a gravel road. Home is a tree dead and gnarled that we would stare at for hours. Home is not having to fear what people say. Home is not being afraid. Once you find home, you want others to find it. You want to rip apart the support beams that prop up fear and hate. You want to tear down the systems that make you feel different. It's time for me to fight and stand up and look around. There's a door. You see the door. You walk up to it. You see the doorknob. You place your hand on the doorknob. What are you waiting for? Someone to turn it for you? No, you have to turn it yourself. You have to push the door open. You have to step through it. Thank you. Thank you for showing me the door. And there are 3 laws. Law number 1, you cannot be created or destroyed, only changed. Law number 2, you cannot see what you do not know. Law number 3, in order to depart, you must arrive, and in order to arrive, you must depart. 3. Flowers. We are flowers in the garden. You once called me a flower when I was navigating the darkness. You said I was pushing through the dirt, reaching for the sky. You said that someday I'll bloom and I'll be so powerful that even the gods will fear me. In the garden, the sky doesn't exist. There's just pain and grief, lilacs smell of rage, daffodils bursting with lust. There's no need for rain because our tears soak the ground. It is hotter than any summer sun. And the gardener is so divine, the angels are jealous of her. We all vie for her attention to help us grow. To think, I believed you, that I could be so beautiful. Thank you.
Wow. Erica, thank you so much for that. Oh my goodness. I hope that that show is able to um, come together soon in one way or another. Once you find home, you want others to find it. I just want to shout that line out. Um, oh man. Whew, okay, we're in the feelings part of the night. Here we go. We've got 2 more readers left, and then our feature. Up next, it's another Get Lit. What are we? We're a band. We're a cohort. We're a mafia. We're a I don't know. What is it? How would you define it, Tyrus?
I like the term mafia. It makes me feel bold.
Be
That's
a
my
mafia.
idea.
Tonight you are the mafia, and the stage is yours, Tyrus.
I feel okay. If you notice, I've changed like background several times. It's because I cannot find quiet like anywhere, and I saw an option. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to my room. Let's get this silence. But anyway, my name is Tyrus Winter, and this poem that I'm gonna be reading, I wrote on New Year's actually this year, and it's titled "My Brother Calls Me Devil." For he comes from a family that has only seen queers bleed. A bludgeoned face drenched in red, why wouldn't he be scared of what skin looks like bare? When my mother says I'm walking like a faggot, he shivers, as if I'm everything we pray against, shifting into beast, marked with damnation in my feet every Sunday. I sit in the row behind my family, alone. My older sister makes sure to put her purse on the last seat available. Blessed be the hate. Bless the name they don't say when talking about me. My baby brother does not sit next to me on the drive back, blurts out that I'm the devil, and the choir of relatives in one vehicle giggle. My mother tells him to hush, and the laughter becomes silent. What he does not know is that Lucifer was an angel. What he would grow to learn is how the devil fell for pride, but first for love. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyrus. The
And that is
devil
my
fell
short little poem.
for pride, but first for love.
Yeah.
Man, you have another one?
Do you want me to read another one? I can.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's read another one.
Yeah.
So this one I've been thinking about constantly, and like the other, I don't remember their name, but another storyteller here. I was like, oh my God, yes, storyteller. Because I like, as much as I love the title poet, I believe that I'm most strongest like telling personal stories, like to myself and from my experience that I've lived through. So this poem is entitled For Skin, for Blood, for Us. All she wanted was her firstborn son to become a man, but I still have foreskin. In both our household religions, this happens after birth, but they never did it. Every time my father brought up how sensitive I was, I hear him and my mother discuss my penis, say, once we get his skin cut off, he'll straighten up. My father says that what makes a man is the pain. In the meantime, he made me lift weights, watch anything with naked women at our apartment in North Hollywood. He locked the door and told me not to come back until I kissed a girl. I was 4, but ready to become a man. So I asked my neighborhood friend, whose name I can't remember, but whose father I knew was similar, if she'd help me. Though I wasn't expecting her tongue, her grasp, her brother's infatuated gaze. I was 4, and we were caught by my mother on the porch, who was so angry at my father at first, until he made her agree. All she wanted was to raise a man, and she'd do anything to do it, even if it meant cutting off her own flesh and blood in the process. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for joining. And on to the next poet.
Thank you, Tyrus. Oh my goodness. One of my favorite things about this space and this group is just the like range of ages that we're hearing from and of queer experiences and how different that looks um, across all of our lives and where all of us are from. We have one more, and that all that to say that Tyrus was a Get Lit player and recently graduated and is a younger fellow. But we have one more poet who I'm so excited to meet and get to hear from. Jen O'Connor, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And I selected 3 poems since it is Pride Month that are lesbian based. And that's pretty much all you need to know. Okay. The first is called Playing House. My dollhouse was in the basement where she and I played with our tiny dolls. Some articulated, some stiff, unyielding. Girl dolls always wore dresses, usually painted on. My favorite wore a red dress. Her favorite wore blue polka dots. One day when my mother was preoccupied with laundry, I held up my girl doll to her girl doll. They touched each other with their tiny hands, rubbed against each other in that secret place. As I remember, we did not speak, but it was mutual and thrilling and chilling, with my mother so close, her back to us, while we did this forbidden thing. Then that moment was gone. We picked up other dolls, played childhood house again. I don't remember her name. I don't know what became of her. I don't know what became of me to feel that call so early in my life and bury it for so many, many years. Okay, on to the next.
Thank you, Jen.
This is called Perspiration Adoration. Her face is dripping now, testament to so much hard work outside. Rivers cascade down her cheeks, streams sprint across her forehead. Round her plump neck springs a whirlpool of priceless pearls of sweat. Tissues appear, rubbing methodically at her forehead, soaking the flimsy paper like sunshine. She discards. I should gather that one. Another swipes sideways across her eyes, black buttons startled by the invasion, widening to my delight. Oh, to be that tissue. Another crisply down the right cheek, then the left. Discard again. I pounce on the tissues now. The best part, she lifts her damp hair like the cave behind a waterfall, caressing the unseen back of her neck. But I know it. I've seen it, kissed it, wet and dry. I am an acolyte before my priestess, kneeling, seizing the sacred tissues, not bowing my head, but drinking in her ritual like removing makeup. Only this is grimy sweat, fragrant as cut grass or grilled onions. My clump of tissue treasure is snatched away. She wants no leavings, like Italian women who gather up their nail clippings to keep the evil eye at bay. As if an evil eye could dry up her heat. And then the last one is called My Fiancé and Her Old Sweet Songs. Sometimes she sings songs in Tagalog. I can see they make her happy. Smiling along with her, enjoying the odd, unfamiliar melodies, wishing I could understand. Sometimes she sings songs in English, her second language, learned in school. American pop love songs playing on the radio, oldies from the 60s and 70s. You're just too good to be true. I'm astounded at how many she knows. She heard them often growing up in Manila. I imagine a young girl sitting in the kitchen or out in the yard with a tinny portable radio, learning the words, recognizing the emotions, waiting for the time, years later, when she will sing them idly for me. Thank you all. This is cool.
Thank you, Jen. That was so beautiful. How did you find this space?
This space, your space here.
Yeah.
I'm a friend of Catherine Gewertz. We've been in a couple of writing workshops together.
That's right.
Actually, too. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, so wonderful to meet you and to hear your work.
Thank you.
My friends, that time has come. We are on to our final poet and our feature. And I'm so so excited and honored to be able to welcome them. Before Fatima speaks, I'd just like to invite everybody to take a breath, have a moment to stretch. We've been on this Zoom call for a second, and just give you a sense of what's going to happen after Fatima speaks is we are going to officially close out the evening, but invite everyone to stay and enter the breakout room portion to have a poem, to have a poem written for you by one of the Pride poets. So that's what's up next. But for now, can we all give lots of silent virtual love to Fatima Shabazz. Thank you for coming and welcome.
Hey everybody, can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me? Okay, I'm borrowing my girlfriend's Huh? I borrowed my girlfriend's earbuds and these things don't always work well. So anyway, my name is Fatima Malika Shabazz. I am the president and CEO of Fatima Speaks LLC. We are a cultural competence training company. We teach stupid people how not to get sued for being stupid, which is basically you know, what happens because these idiots are idiots. So what I wanted to say is this, so you guys have some sort of context of what I do. I am technically what is known as an urban poet. So what I do is I tell stories about the world that we live in that affects us, but we tend not to see that world on purpose because we live in a world of our own that says that if we don't see that world, right, then we're okay, nothing's going to touch us, nothing's going to bother us, we're going to be all right. However, the reality of the situation is, I believe it was Cornel West that said it. If it wasn't, I don't want to really give him the credit, but I like the guy because he's cool, right? But he said that the most dangerous job in America is being a black man, right? And the worst job in America is being a black man. So as an African-American trans woman in America, imagine being me for a day. On top of that, with the rate of unarmed murders, because that's what they are. They're not, you know, officer-involved shootings or any of that bullshit that they like to say on the news. These are assassinations of young and old black men and women by a group of individuals who are the largest gang that I know of anywhere. And this is what they do. They legally murder us. So my work centers around stuff like that. Now, as it stands, we as people of the LGBT community, family, we suffer just like everyone else because we are often victims simply because of who we are. So my work centers around that. So the first thing that I want to do, I actually kind of wrote as a freestyle and posted on a video of a thing that I did last week at the Hall of Justice. And there is no title to it, but it is just how I felt at that moment. America wrote me a promissory note that bounced, and now from Brooklyn to the Bay, down to LA, down on bloody, blood-soaked streets, grounds, I can't breathe. And I'm seizing, holding the black woman in my arms for a safe place to breathe, and I can't breathe. All I can see is me, on my knees in the street, and I'm starting to weep. I'm pouring sips out of my beers onto the concrete. And I'm saying prayers for my folks that didn't make it through. Man, it's almost over for me too, so I'll soon be seeing you. See, these devils treat me with neglect. Show me no respect. Treat me like they thought I should genuflect. So he kicked me in my guts and out on the stand, and my neck shit, and I can't breathe. And though I know any day or night might be my last day or night, I'm staying in this fight, even though I can't breathe. Thanks. So, yeah, these things affect me in a lot of different ways, but they're the reality of my situation every day. So this is called Black River Rising. I wrote this some years ago, but apparently it's relevant now. Black river on a black night rising, verbal floodwaters chastising, the murderers black life depriving, crooked politicans and rights depriving, hooded vipers eyes disguising your joy at my demise, while another goddess cries every time another child, godchild dies. And it sometimes makes me wonder if God's crying too. Or if God is just turning a blind eye while demons do the evil shit that demons do. Black River Rising. Black life expectancy in my city is short. So I'm wearing Teflon and the Glock trying to hustle figures and figure a way out of this block because these desperate times got me forgetting about living for tomorrow because I got to live for right fucking now. So I got no tolerance for stupid shit. And if you looking for action, man, you can get it right fucking now. And even though I know the land I'm walking on is bloody and trapped out, be damned if I get head capped and butchered by these black ass, evil ass cows. See, every day I find myself smoking more and more weed so I can cope with all of this anger. And I'm leery of every stranger, feeling like a handshake could put me in sudden danger. So I keep a mean mug and I don't do too much talking because I've heard all this bullshit before. War stories too often. Bitches is reckless. And when these strangers show up, strange shit starts happening. I stay on point. Because every day on my block, there's these cops with the gun clapping. Black River Rising. See, these new youngsters, more impressed with what Satan's driving, ain't hearing teachers teaching lessons about hard work and striving. They'd rather pitch pieces off of the curbs all day, get money the fast way, come at you the ski mask way, all about gunplay. Forget about going legit, man. That shit gets you nothing but broke every day. So you got limited amount of time to get your grind. So heaven help you if you in the way. See, most of my people live a hard life, hand-to-hand, mouth tight. Living full, drama, stress, strife, so you can bet your bottom dollar all these dreams might make one of these brothers take a life before his newborn or even his old wife. Clash life can end in a flash. Black River Rising. Because I like my heels high and my skirt short, don't mean I'm out selling my ass. So if you heckle when I'm walking by, I'm going to hit you heckler with a S-class. See, but I got to tell you, man, this poverty shit, it ain't been going that far for too long. See, I'm tired of marching to the same old protest song. Tired of these preachers praying for fishes and loaves while Pharisees and are crucifying all of us in droves. Fire and brimstone sermons ain't doing a damn thing for me. So I'm reading Business by Ta-Nehisi Coates and staying focused on my own people's reality. Poetry by Fatima Shabazz reminds me of revolutionary in me. Listening to Bob Marley keeps me on point spiritually. Black River Rising, Satan's calling, but I ain't hearing you. See, I ain't fearing you, and my people are rising like a black river on a black night. I got a few more seconds left or something. Something like that.
You have as much as the night as you want. Absolutely. You got 5 minutes until the end of time.
Okay, all right. So this is called Lost Ones. A very, very long time ago. I'm ancient. I'm like 183. I just look like I'm 50. But I'm ancient. And very, very many years ago, like a lot of us, I was a sex worker, when I was a lot younger. I'm 56 years old now. I've done a lot of everything. So, but this is kind of based on, what our world as trans and LGBT people in the streets are. Because I want Santa Monica Boulevard every night. Those are my folks. They're my people. I don't see why I should be at my nice little, paying for an apartment while they're out striving every day or every night just to be able to buy food at 7-Eleven. So I'm over there every night trying to do what I can do for them, help them out, even if it's just having a conversation and let them know that there's somebody down for them, Because for me, I'm a soldier in the truest sense of the word for the LGBT community. So these things come out of that. But anyway, pay attention and listen to my truest thoughts, and maybe you can picture my vision. See, no more of my sisters dreaming from a hard bed sitting in a cold prison. So we need a new mission. See, I remember, yeah, I still remember. I remember when for the lost ones, I used to pour out a little liquor. Never did I figure poverty would be the trigger that would stain my spirit black. Now I'm praying for forgiveness and an unforgiving soul that's dark and lax. Baby, it's hard living when you come from the black side of the tracks. Trying to hustle your way out of the ghetto, stashing away paper stacks, praying by your loved ones, praying by your loved ones' bedside. Dear mama, just hold on. I know what to do, and we're going to make it through. All you got to do is believe in me. I'm going to take care of you. So listen, Listen to my truest thoughts. Pay attention to my deepest feelings. See, there's depression in my trans nation that keeps me and my sisters in mini skirts and high heels cutting back alley deals because we can fuck for a few dollars and a couple free meals. Got us popping pills and smoking weed so that we can kill the pain, numb the brain, cause being ass up, face down makes life seem hopeless. And it makes it hard for me to keep focused. And out here, these demons play magician with your life. We're like hocus pocus, poof, you gone. Now corner to corner, walk and share tears for the lost one. So tell me, how many more caskets do we need to see lowered in the dirt? How many more mothers do we need to hug through the hurt? While the devil looks and laughs, and his minions smile and smirk. Damn. Sisters, we need to figure out a better way. We need to figure out a better way to make this world work. Because, baby, I'm tired of whole straw walking with my naked ass hanging out of the bottom of an extra small, too damn small micro mini skirt, trying to get someone to pay me to put that naked ass to some fuck me baby work. Bent over, head against the wall in the dark back street, or ass up face down in some dude's smelly ass back seat. So my sister, say a prayer for me. And I'm going to say one for you too. Because baby girl, we got to figure a way out of this shit together and come up with a better plan. Deal ourselves a better hand and make some good runs and stick to our righteous gun plans. Because sister, we can't be the lost ones. So, thank you. Pain and suffering. So, hold on a second. I don't want to read that one. I don't want to read that one. This is actually called Till Morning Comes. Ironically, it has absolutely nothing to do with the LGBT community. It was just something that I really liked. It was inspired by a song called Till Morning Comes, written by Anthony Hamilton. And I was scrolling through my Facebook once, and there were these guys in Spain that was out like in the middle of a square or courtyard or something like that. And they were all musicians from a different place, and they just happened to meet in this square. And they sat down for lunch and started playing this song a cappella. It was like freaking amazing. So I wrote this piece. I pray for rainy days so the rain can hide my tears. I smile through the pain so you don't see my fears. When I'm looking at you, I wonder, do you really see me when you look into my face? I wonder, when I walk through the rooms, do you really feel like I have a place? Or do you just tolerate me momentarily and give me a little space? Better believe I'm tired of walking these hard-ass roads and talking to these demons in these dark-ass codes and hoping that my story won't soon end and that I get an opportunity to turn another page and start all over again. See, I remember many nights looking over the edge of a ghetto rooftop thinking maybe my destiny is a collision with the pavement so all of this pain can stop. Criminal inclination was always my situation. Drug laws and drug wars, damn, now I'm fighting another case. And I'm dealing with a severe case of PTSD from crooked cops and adversarial gunshots hitting me in the face. Tried looking for a better life to escape all of that. But high-ass bells and crack sales keep calling me back. And I remember in the back of an ambulance when my lifeline went flat. And I'm still trying to figure out why the hell these paramedics even brought me back. You keep telling me that I should be thankful that I didn't die that night. I'm thinking, thankful for what? Another day without sunlight, all the wrong I learned, all the evil I wrought, or maybe I should be thankful for the day and night of suicidal thought. I spent half my life living through depression, wanting to die, unable to even live with myself and not even knowing why. So if what I'm saying offends you, take it personally. See, this is just me and my life thesis. So I can feel my last days coming, and I'm really ready to talk to Jesus. See, right now I'm praying that my last days in the sunshine be sprinkled with rain so I can feel what it's like to be washed clean of all of the pain and all of my life. These shadows have been chasing me, and now I can't keep running because I'm running out of time, and I'm running on empty. But I know that one day, soon, I'll be able to lay my burden down, peaceful sleeping. So if you catch me dreaming, please don't wake me till I'm done. Just leave me sleeping till the morning comes. Just pass over me, man. Please pretend that I'm not there and just leave me be till the morning comes. So that's it for me. Thank you guys First of all, let me say this. All of the poets were amazing. I love you guys. Thank you very, very much for participating. Thank you very, very much for inviting me and allowing me to, share some of my work with you guys. I hope, um, I hope you guys like what I did. I hope that it wasn't too caustic, but that's kind of how I am these days. Actually, it's been like this for a very, very long time. I have defining moments in my life. I don't want to take up too much time, but I was actually watching PBS at a god-awful time early in the morning on the same morning that Nelson Mandela was released from prison. As it happens, because I multitask, I was reading an issue of Time magazine, and in there was a story about a kid named Robert Yummy Sandifer, who got murdered like maybe a week or two before that issue had run. So they stopped the issue to put this story in it. But this kid was killed in Chicago by some gang members in a gang that he was trying to join. That moment in my life was defining, and it said to me that I need to tell stories about the world that we live in, because that's the reality that we live in. I'm from Brooklyn originally. I live in California, but I'm from Brooklyn originally, and I can remember days when we heard gunshots in the street, and the only thing that you do is make sure the door is locked and turn the TV up a little louder so that you don't hear the gunshots. So we've become desensitized, and now in 2020, we are even so desensitized, right, that we can pass by, we can walk by a chalk line outline or a dead body in the street for that matter, and not even notice that it's there because it's commonplace now, right? It is so commonplace for cops to shoot us down, black and unarmed, for people to beat the hell out of us on the streets because we're transgender or because we identify in some way that doesn't suit their taste, right? It's so common now that they don't even care that people are walking around with cell phone cameras. They just do it anyway. They just do it anyway. And we live in a society, right, where a cop can gun you down and get suspended for 2 weeks with pay, right, for shooting you and killing you as an unarmed individual. So I feel like it's important and it's incumbent upon me to address those issues in the best way and in the best skills that I have available to me and that I was blessed with by the Creator. So my superpower is networking. You can't put me in a room with any 20 people and I can't get what I want in 5 minutes. Hands down. That's just kind of the way I am. My number one rule in life is I'm bold enough to break the rules, strong enough to make my own. That's how I live. And I enforce that rule every day of my life. And I enforce that rule for the benefit, right, of the LGBT community and every other political organization. And I think it's 6 now, or maybe 7, I lost count, that I'm part of here in the city of Los Angeles and in any other state that I happen to plant my feet, because I plan to be queen. Well, I am queen of the jungle pretty much wherever I plant my feet. So all I wanted to bring to the table today, right, is that we have certain realities that we live with every day. Among those realities is cop slangs, harassment of the LGBT community, unlawful arrests and detainments, searches and seizures, all of these things. We live with ministers who have multi-million-dollar churches and network, monopolies on Sundays so that they can tell their congregation that God should kill gay people. No, he didn't say that. He said that ministers in the name of God should kill gay people. This is what my tax dollars is paying these jackwads for, right? So I have nothing against ministers. I have nothing against religion or anything. I'm a spiritual individual. I don't deal with organized churches though, because of things of that nature. So I can't explain what's wrong with the world that we live in. And I really don't care about explaining what's wrong with the world that lives in because that takes too much time. What I want to do is fix what I can fix at the moment that I can fix it. It's as simple as that. If that means that I got to push a car off a cliff just because the car is blocking the highway, we push the damn car off of the cliff. We don't need a subcommittee and 4 other panels to decide whether or not we're going to push the damn car off a cliff. Push it off the damn cliff, So I have issues with politicians, and it's crazy because I actually intend to run for city council, but I have issues because of things like that. And I read a story once, right, that in Japan, the reason that they are so successful is because they spend less time trying to figure out who fucked up than they do to fix the problem. And we spend more time trying to figure out who fucked up than we do fixing the problem. That's why we have Donald Trump. So my work, I hope, reflects that in its own way, from, where I'm coming from and where I'm at now and how I intend to and how I purposely support our community every day. And I thank you guys for for letting me say what I needed to say.
Fatima, thank you 526 times. How can we follow you? How can we find you? How can we book to speak and to teach? And how can we support your run for city council? What do we do?
Okay. Well, I'm just kind of putting the bug in everybody's ear about the city council thing. I'm warned to talk with Francine Sonia-Wallace, who ran for Congress. Right, she and I became friends. She set a panel that I did, not a panel. I did a focus group, a town hall meeting here at the ACLU SoCal, which is actually right around the corner from my house, and she was one of my panelists. So we've been discussing what it's going to take to do that. But you can find me. My Instagram is Fatima Speaks 9. I have no idea what my Facebook page is, but they're all linked. So my email, my business email is Fatima Speaks LLC. All lowercase, at gmail.com. Feel free to call. My phone number is 323-994-7891. So if you guys, I do have on my bio, if you guys send me an email address, I'll send you my bio so you know who I am and what I do. But we accept donations. So for that, you can either Venmo or Cash App me. My Venmo is N Fatima Speaks. No, I'm sorry. At N Fatima, capital FATIA, Fatima dash Shabazz, my full name. And my Cash App is $ Fatima Speaks. So my rates for what I do, they vary depending on what you guys call me for. So if I'm just sitting on the panel, it's kind of standard. It's like, for me, it's like $350 for that. I can give you all of that information when you guys, write or text or whatever about what you need. For trainings, that's a little bit more expensive because that's a longer period of time, and that requires questions and answers, and I have to be on point, which means that I actually have to go to sleep at night, which I never do. So yeah, anytime you guys need me, I'm not hard to find. You have the information. Feel free to reach out. I'm always available for any kind of question and answer type of a thing. It doesn't really matter to me. What I want to be able to do is educate people and show people how more similar we are than we are dissimilar. We all have the same issues. It doesn't matter whether you are straight or gay, whether you're blue, black, green, or purple. At the end of the day, you still got to pay your rent like I do. I still have to pay my car note. Well, I don't have a car note. I own my car. Thank you. Appreciate that. I own mine, so yeah, I don't have a car note. But we still have to pay bills. I still have to pay my light bill. I got to go fight with DPSS because I get food stamps and all of that. And they thought that since when I wasn't working, the housing people that got me my housing now pay my light bill. They feel like because they're temporarily paying my light bill, that justified cutting my my services down to $25. That's the world that we live in, where money that's set aside to help people who are in distress and need that funding, constantly they come up with reasons to cut that funding off, right? So if they can't do it from the state budget level, they do it from the individual level for minor things like, oh, well, you pay your own light bill now. So you can't eat because you pay your light bill now. That makes, So these are things that I fight against, right? So I do a lot of trainings against that. I do a lot of trainings about courtesy, respect, and dignity when you come into business, office spaces, things of that nature. I had a conflict with North Peters a few weeks ago, and I had to go in for a thing, and they, despite the number of times I told them how I identify, they purposely misgendered me. And then, so I'm at a point in my world, right, where I'm tired of talking, and I have an understanding, an acute understanding of what makes the world around me works. And unfortunately, it's money. That is the sustenance that we walk on, that we live on. And I have an understanding that once you diminish the powers that be in their pocketbook, they start to listen. The situation here in LA and actually worldwide, after the murder of this young man and riots and these things. They're unfortunate situations, but I believe them sometimes to be necessary situations because it makes people listen. At heart, I'm a tried and true African American trans lesbian revolutionary. I believe in that wholeheartedly. I got some backlash because I said this once, right? But in every revolution, the success comes from bloodshed. I do not condone bloodshed, but what I do condone, right, is the complete and utter destruction of those things that keep their feet on our neck. I fight fire with an inferno. That is my belief. It's mine. It's my own. No one has to agree with it. But at the end of the day, I stand in that. That is my truth, and I walk like that. Head up, shoulders back every day. So if you agree, that's fine. If you don't agree, that's fine. If you disagree to the point where you think you have a problem that may cause some sort of discrepancy physically between you and someone else in our community, all we ask is that you watch your tone, keep your hands to yourself, and just leave us the hell alone. We don't want much. We just want what we work for, what we have coming. We have children, we have families, we have people that we take care of. So this is my purpose. My purpose is to, in some small way, leave the space that I occupy better than it was when I walked into it. And this is how I know how to do it.
Thank you, Fatima. Thank you so much for being here and sharing that work with us. And yeah, I'll be following up, and I'm sure many people here will be. It's so meaningful to have you here. And
can we make sure that everybody? I know I talk fast. So did everyone get the contact information? Do I need to repeat that at all, or
we have it.
I can't hear.
We have it in the chat, and then if it's okay by you, I can also share it out with everyone over email.
Fine, not a problem. Please do. So yeah, anytime you guys need something, just give me a call. I'll send an email or something.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've never had someone give out their phone number before. I'm like, all right, she's serious. She means business. Call her.
Yeah, I don't mind.
She is here for it.
Yeah, I don't mind. And if you're watching me, my phone is always with me. So and I literally barely sleep. I've been a lifelong insomniac since probably I was like 10 years old. So if you call at 3 a.m, I would probably answer the phone. So and not be upset that you called at 3 a.m. So yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate allowing me the space.
Thank you so much, Fatima. That is the end of the readings for Pride Mike, but this space is open as long as y'all want to hang out. Would love to have you. We have, I believe, 6 Pride poets here who are on hand to write you poems. So if you're watching on the live stream, I invite you to join the Zoom if you would like to get a poem in the next 10 minutes or so. Pride poets, after 10 minutes, feel free to say, no, that's it, or feel free to stay on. I'm going to keep the Zoom open, but end the live stream now and just say thanks everyone so much for coming to Pride Mike. We're a project of Pride poets supported by One City, One Pride with the City of West Hollywood, space for queer poets and writers and shenanigans. We have 2 more mics. We'd love to have you come back. We'd love to have you share again. We'd love to have you invite folks. It's every Friday this June. So with that being said,